Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome to today's edition of the Business Corner. I am your host, Sandrine Rattan. Today is Monday, July 3rd, 2017, and as per usual, I must start by extending special thanks to our sponsors, First Citizens and the CARIRI Business Hatchery, for supporting this important initiative. And some good news. Effective today, the Business Corner has been extended for 1 hour instead of the original 30 minutes. So we have, a lot more time to to share some very important information with you, our listeners. The last time when we were here, we facilitated a second conversation regarding the country's unemployment situation. And our guests were Linhurst Murray, IR consultant, Trevor Johnson, General Secretary of the Bankers, Insurance and General Workers Union, and Brian Ruplal, who represented the ECA, and they all offered short-term solutions to treat with our unemployment challenges. We would continue to monitor the situation and perhaps facilitate another discussion looking specifically at collective agreements and contractual employment. Today we have a packed program as usual, and the first segment focuses on the issue of economic diversification. Much talked about issue, can it be done? Yes or no? And to help us unravel this very important subject is Mr. Ronald Hines, newly elected president of the Trinidad+Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and Mr. Nirad Tiwari, CEO of the American Chamber. Let me just come back to Mr. Hines. When you spoke, because I share what both of you are saying, but I want to speak specifically about the change in administration, change in political administrations. When one administration may set a particular tone, let's say for diversification. So for example, I know the former administration had done some work and they had identified some business pillars in terms of starting that diversification process. But if we continue culturally along the lines that we do, in terms of when an administration comes in, they change gears. Another one comes in, then if economic diversification is a lengthy process, I don't see it happening the way it should, because it has to be a continuation of something that has started.
So let me connect something that Nirad said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should think of it as what is the policy towards diversification. When I talk about changing administrations, I'm not even primarily focused on the thing that the administration says they will do about diversification.
Welcome back to the Business Corner. And Finance Secretary in the Tobago House of Assembly, Joel Jack, presented nearly $5 billion budget for the island in June 2017. It represents more than the roughly 4% that the national budget usually allocates to Tobago, with economic and human development and improved health care delivery some of its major themes. He also spoke of 2 new ferries to service the Sea Bridge by mid-July. To help analyze the major provisions of the budget statement is Mr. Demijohn Cruikshank, head of the Tobago division of the Trinidad+Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Mr. Cruikshank, a warm welcome. Thanks for taking our call.
Good afternoon to all your listeners.
So, Mr. Cruikshank, the budget that was presented by Mr. Jack in June, it's $4.91 billion. And I'm looking at the estimates here. Some major development projects were highlighted in the presentation, which include Phase 3 of the Fort King George Heritage Park project at a cost of $6.1 million, the upgrade of Sanctuary Resort at $50 million, and Manta Lodge $8.3 million, and some other infrastructural projects. But let me just preface our short discussion by asking, I worked at the THA last year, and one of the things I know came out in discussions is that by the chamber, I think by your chamber, there was a particular meeting, and one of the issues that came out is accountability, and that could reference things that were done with previous budgets. So if we could start there.
Well, the one thing I must say is that the chamber is really and truly one of the watchdog organizations.
Yes.
Of the public purse. And Ronald just said, my president just said, some businesses that you haven't seen today may be the large businesses tomorrow. So it is that how do we transfer the economy of Tobago from the dependency of the Tobago House of Assembly into a better and more robust private sector. And that is what we need to look at. That is what we need to really and truly hold the Tobago House of Assembly.
Welcome back to the Business Corner, and stay tuned. More tips for those with ideas for a startup next week, courtesy the CARIRI Business Hatchery. This is the Business Corner on Power 102 FM, looking at money, ideas, and work in association with the CARIRI Business Hatchery and the First Citizens. We put you first. On the line with us is Mr. Jerome Chambers, Director of the Global Forensic Institute. Mr. Chambers, a warm welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Chambers, according to some estimates, companies lose an average of 5% of annual revenues to fraud. And we wanted to talk about that in the context of the work that you do, and what kind of support and assistance you all give in this regard to those customers, those companies who may be having such experiences.
Well, the statistic that you quoted comes from the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. They conduct a yearly worldwide survey trying to see what are the levels of fraud in different types of businesses. And that is a statistic that has happened consistently over many years. So that an average of 5% of revenue is lost, 1. 2, fraud normally occurs in the workplace for at least 18 months before the employer actually discovers it.